The doctor said 3 words. The child isn't mine.
I woke up on my 39th birthday to a text message that would eventually unravel everything I thought I knew about my life. My wife, Sarah, had been typing something, then deleting it, then typing again. The three dots kept appearing and disappearing on my phone screen for what felt like forever before her message finally came through. Hey, babe, really sorry, but I have to bail on dinner tonight. Work is absolutely insane right now. Stephen is writing everyone about these quarterly reports. Can we do a rain check? Love you. I sat there on the edge of our bed, reading those words over and over. 39 years old today. I'd been reminding her about this dinner for 3 weeks straight. I'd even circled the date on our kitchen calendar in bright red marker, the same calendar she passed every morning when she grabbed her coffee. Our son Tommy was still asleep down the hall. I could hear his little snores through the monitor. We probably should have stopped using 2 years ago, but Sarah always insisted on keeping it just in case. I texted back quickly because that's what I always did. No problem, work comes first, we'll celebrate another time. 3 words that had become my default response to disappointment. No problem. The universal way of saying I'm hurt, but I've learned not to show it because nothing ever changes anyway. I got up and stretched, feeling my back crack in multiple places. When had I gotten so old? When did the guy who used to play basketball twice a week turn into someone who grunted when bending down to tie his shoes? At least the house was paid off. My grandfather had left it to me when he passed, and it was the one thing Sarah couldn't complain about when money got tight. At least we don't have a mortgage, I'd remind her during her stress sessions about expenses, though lately she'd been stressing less about bills and more about experiences. She kept talking about travel and luxury and living life before we're too old to enjoy it. The kitchen smelled like the coffee I'd programmed to start brewing at 6:30. I poured myself a cup and stood by the window overlooking our backyard. The leaves were changing colors, all those reds and oranges and yellows that made October in New England look like something out of a painting. Tommy's swing set stood in the corner, one of the swings moving slightly in the breeze. I'd built that thing myself 3 summers back. Took me 4 weekends and probably 6 trips to the hardware store because I kept getting the measurements wrong. But I'd done it myself, and that mattered. My phone buzzed again. I figured it was Sarah with another apology or maybe something to soften the blow. Instead, it was my mom. Happy birthday, sweetheart. Call me when you get a chance. Love you. Then my college buddies started chiming in on our group chat with their birthday messages, but nothing else from Sarah, just that one text about canceling. I heard Tommy thundering down the stairs in that way only a 6-year-old can manage when they're excited about something. He burst into the kitchen wearing his superhero pajamas and the biggest smile I'd seen all week. Happy birthday, Daddy! He crashed into me with the full force of his 38 pounds, and I lifted him up, swung him around once like I always did, like my dad had done with me back in the day. He giggled, and for just a moment, everything else disappeared. This was enough. This had to be enough. We spent the next hour making chocolate chip pancakes together, getting flour everywhere, and telling terrible knock-knock jokes that Tommy thought were absolutely hilarious. He told me about school, about how some kid named Marcus got in trouble for putting glue in another kid's hair, about how his teacher said they were starting a unit on dinosaurs next week. The big ones, Dad, the T-Rex ones, did you know they had teeth this big? He spread his hands about 2 feet apart, which seemed physically impossible, but I didn't correct him. Where's Mom? He asked with a mouthful of pancake. She had to go to work early, big project. He just nodded like this made perfect sense, like this was completely normal. 'Cause it was normal now. This had become our normal. After breakfast, I cleaned up while Tommy watched cartoons. I kept checking my phone. Still nothing from Sarah, except that one cancellation text. No follow-up, no I really am sorry, no happy birthday, nothing. Just silence stretching on and on. Around 10:30, she finally texted again. Today is absolutely insane. Stephen is making everything so complicated, miss you. 2 words at the end that felt automatic, like she'd suddenly remembered she should probably say something affectionate to her husband on his birthday. I typed back, no worries, Tommy and I are having a good day, hope work settles down. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. Then nothing. I took Tommy to the park like I'd planned. We fed the ducks even though there were signs everywhere. saying not to feed the ducks. But it was my birthday, and rules felt negotiable today. Tommy laughed every time a duck waddled over to grab the bread pieces we'd brought, and I took about 50 photos on my phone because that's what you do when you're trying to convince yourself that this is enough, that you're grateful, that you're not slowly fading into the background of your own life. Around 2 in the afternoon, Tommy's friend Lucas showed up with his mom, Jennifer. She was one of those people who always seemed to have everything together. Hair styled perfectly, outfit coordinated, probably meal prepped on Sundays and never forgot permission slips. Daniel, I didn't know you'd be here. Isn't today your birthday? Yeah, took the day off. That's wonderful. Where's Sarah? Work emergency, big deadline. Jennifer's smile flickered for just a second. Oh, well, I'm sure it's important. The boys ran off to the playground, and Jennifer sat next to me on the bench. We watched them climb on the equipment in that comfortable silence that comes from years of waiting in the same pickup lines and volunteering for the same school events. How long? She asked quietly. How long what? How long has she been pulling away? I turned to look at her, and she wasn't smiling anymore. She was looking at me with something that felt uncomfortably like pity. I don't know what you mean. Daniel, I've known you guys for 4 years now. I see things. The parent network is very real, and people talk. I just want you to know that if you ever need someone to talk to, I'm here, no judgment. I didn't know what to say to that. Didn't know how to process the implication that other people had noticed something I'd been trying not to notice myself. We're fine, I said. Just busy. You know how it is. She nodded, but I could tell she didn't believe me. Sure, busy. Well, the offer stands. We went home around 4. Tommy wanted to play video games, so I set him up with his console and went upstairs to change out of my sweaty park clothes. That's when I made the mistake of checking Instagram. I barely used social media. My account was mostly pictures of Tommy, some hiking photos from last summer, the occasional meme my sister tagged me in. But Sarah was active. Sarah posted everything, her morning coffee, her outfits, her workspace, motivational quotes, weekend brunches. She had almost 3,000 followers, which seemed crazy to me for a senior account manager at a mid-sized company. But she'd explained once that it was called personal branding, and it mattered for career growth. I scrolled through my feed, and there it was, posted an hour ago. A photo of an office conference room transformed into something straight out of Pinterest. Balloon arches in silver and gold, a custom cake that probably cost $200, a table covered in expensive whiskey bottles and gift boxes wrapped in designer paper, rose gold decorations everywhere, a banner reading Happy Birthday Stephen in fancy script. Sarah was in the photo standing next to her boss, Stephen Richardson, the guy I'd met exactly twice in 4 years. He was 42, divorced, wore suits that cost more than my old car payment, had the kind of smile that belonged in a toothpaste commercial. His arm was around Sarah's shoulders. She was beaming, actually beaming, with a smile I hadn't seen directed at me in months. The caption read, "When your boss turns 43, you celebrate properly. Stephen, you're not just an incredible leader, but an amazing mentor and friend. Here's to another year of crushing goals together." Then a bunch of hashtags about boss appreciation and team goals and work family. I sat down on our bed and read the caption again, looked at the photo again, at the balloons and the cake and the gifts and her smile. Things are tight at the office. That's what she'd told me this morning. Too busy for my birthday dinner, but somehow had time to plan this elaborate party for her boss. My thumb hovered over the screen. I could like it. That's what a supportive husband would do, right? I could comment something nice. But I didn't do anything, just stared at it until I heard Tommy's voice from downstairs. Dad, are you okay? I looked up. He was standing in the doorway holding his controller, looking at me with those big brown eyes that saw way too much for a 6-year-old. Yeah, buddy, I'm fine, just checking something. You look sad. I'm not sad. He walked over and climbed onto the bed next to me, leaning against my shoulder. They forgot you again, didn't they? The question hit me hard, again. He'd noticed. Of course he'd noticed. He'd noticed every late dinner, every missed soccer game, every time Sarah had promised to be somewhere and then texted at the last minute with an excuse. He'd noticed his mother slowly disappearing into a life that didn't seem to include us anymore. Mom's just really busy with work, I said, which was my default excuse by now. She remembered his birthday, Tommy said quietly, looking at the photo on my phone. I didn't have an answer for that. We sat there together for a long time. Then Tommy said, "Want me to make you a birthday card? I'd love that, buddy." He ran off to get his art supplies, and I sat alone in our bedroom looking at that photo, at the balloons and cake and Sarah's smile, at the evidence that she'd had time and money and energy to celebrate someone, just not me. I thought about texting her, thought about asking why she'd lied, thought about demanding an explanation. But I didn't. Instead, I did something else. Something quiet that wouldn't explode until much later when the truth was ready to surface. I opened my laptop and started making phone calls I should have made months ago. The first call was to Bill Harrison, my college roommate who'd gone to law school while I went into data analysis. We'd stayed friends in that sporadic way men do. Occasional texts and beers when schedules aligned. "Bill, holy hell, man, happy birthday. I was going to call you later." "Thanks, listen, I need some legal advice." There was a pause. "What's going on? Are you okay?" "I'm fine, I just need to understand some things about asset protection, hypothetically speaking." Another longer pause. Bill was smart. He knew hypothetically was code for this is real, but I'm not ready to admit it yet. Asset protection from what? From a marriage that might not be as solid as I thought. I heard him exhale. Jesus, Dan, Sarah. I don't know yet. Maybe I'm paranoid, maybe I'm reading too much into things. But I need to know what my options are, what I should be documenting, how to protect myself and Tommy if things go sideways. He walked me through everything. Did I have a prenup? No. Joint accounts? Yes, for checking and savings, her name got added when we married. The house? In my name only, inherited before we met. That was good. Inherited property usually stays separate. What about income? I made about $75,000, she made around 85 plus bonuses. So relatively equal, which was helpful for power dynamics. "Do you have evidence of infidelity?" Bill asked. "Not concrete evidence, not yet, but my gut is telling me something's wrong, and I've learned to trust that." "Then start documenting everything," Bill said. "Every text message, every time she says she's working late, every unusual expense. Don't confront her yet. You need information first. And Dan, open a separate bank account in your name only. Start moving some money there. Not everything, but enough to cover expenses if things get ugly." I looked at Tommy, still coloring downstairs, completely unaware that his father was planning for the possible destruction of his family. "I can do that." "One more thing," Bill continued. "If you're serious about this, consider hiring a private investigator. I know a guy, very discreet. He can get you actual evidence if there's evidence to get. Send me his information." After I hung up, I opened a new checking account online and transferred $3,000 from our joint savings. Not enough to be obvious, but enough to start building a safety net. Then I called my sister Rachel, who lived 2 hours north. She was 4 years younger, about 40 IQ points sharper, and had never particularly liked Sarah. "She's too polished," Rachel had said after meeting her the first time, like she's always performing. I'd dismissed it back then, thinking Rachel was just being protective. Now I wondered what else she'd seen. "Baby brother," Rachel answered. "Happy birthday. Tell me Sarah's throwing you some amazing party. She's working late. Office emergency." "Are you kidding me? It's your birthday, your actual birthday, and she's at the office. Like, what kind of emergency?" "Quarterly reports, apparently." I told her about the Instagram post, about the balloons and cake and smile I hadn't seen in months, about Tommy asking if they'd forgotten me again. Rachel was quiet for a long time. "What do you need from me?" "I need you to be ready if things fall apart. Tommy might need to stay with you for a bit while I figure things out." Of course we can do that. But, Daniel, what are you planning?" "I don't know yet. Just gathering information, understanding the landscape." "You're building a case?" "Maybe." "Good. It's about damn time. Do you need money for a lawyer?" "I've got Bill handling the legal stuff. I just need to know Tommy has a safe place to land if this gets messy." "He's got us, always. You know that." "Hey, Daniel, I'm proud of you for not just accepting this, for not making yourself small to accommodate her. You deserve better than this." I spent the afternoon reviewing our credit card statements. We had 3 cards, 2 joint, and one technically mine that Sarah used occasionally. I logged into each account and started looking for patterns. What I found made my stomach drop. Charges at expensive restaurants downtown, the kind with prefix menus and wine lists that required a second mortgage. 200 here, 300 there, always on weeknights, always marked as business dinners in Sarah's expense tracking. Then I found charges at a boutique hotel called the Belmont. 4 separate stays over the past 3 months, each on a Thursday night, each around $350. Thursday nights when Sarah had told me she was staying late to finish projects, when she'd texted around midnight saying she was too exhausted to drive home safely and was crashing in the office. When I'd replied, "Drive safe tomorrow, love you," like an idiot, she hadn't been at the office. She'd been at the Belmont. This was evidence, not proof of infidelity yet, but proof of deception. Proof that she'd been lying to me consistently for months. My hands were shaking, and I noticed that from a distance, like watching someone else's hands shake. "Dad," Tommy was in the doorway holding up construction paper covered in crayon drawings. "I finished your card." I closed the laptop and arranged my face into something normal. "Let me see, buddy." The card showed our family as stick figures holding hands, me, him, and Sarah all smiling, a sun in the corner, a house, the words "Happy Birthday." "Dad, you're the best," in uneven letters across the top. "It's perfect," I said. "Thank you, Tommy. I love it." "Are you crying?" "No, just really happy with the card." He hugged me and I held on longer than usual, held on like he was the only real thing left. At 6:30, Sarah called. I let it ring 3 times before answering. "Hey." "Hi, honey. Listen, I'm so sorry, but this is going even later than I thought. Steven wants to go over the presentation again before Monday. I probably won't be home until 10 or 11. I looked at the credit card statement, still open on my laptop. "No problem. Take your time. You're upset. I can hear it." "I'm not upset." "Daniel, please, I know this sucks. I know I promised, but this is my career, and I need you to understand that sometimes work has to come first." "I understand." "Do you? Because you've been so passive-aggressive lately about my hours. I need you to be supportive right now. This promotion is really important to me." Promotion? This was the first I'd heard about a promotion. "You're up for a promotion? Didn't I tell you? Senior director, Steven's been coaching me, setting me up for it." "This is huge, Daniel. This could mean 20,000 more a year plus better bonuses." "That's great, Sarah. Congratulations. You don't sound happy." "I'm happy, just tired, long day." "Right, your birthday. I'm sorry, honey, I really am. We'll celebrate this weekend, okay?" "Sure, this weekend." "I love you." The words felt empty. "Love you too." I hung up and sat in the silence. Then I called the number Bill had texted me. A man answered on the first ring. "Harrison and Associates Investigations. This is Mike." "Hi, Bill Harrison referred me. I need surveillance, domestic situation." Mike took my information, Sarah's description, her car make and model, license plate, listened to my credit card number for the deposit, explained his rates and methods. "One more thing," Mike said. "You sure you want to know?" Sometimes clients call me back after thinking about it, say they'd rather not find out, stay in the denial. I'm not judging, I'm just saying once you know, you can't unknow. "I want to know," I said. "I need to know." "Fair enough, I'll be in touch Friday morning with an initial report." The rest of the evening passed in a blur. I ordered pizza for Tommy and me. We ate in front of the TV watching some animated movie he'd seen a dozen times, but never got tired of. He fell asleep on the couch around 9, and I carried him upstairs, tucked him in, kissed his forehead. "Love you, Dad," he mumbled half asleep. "Love you too, buddy." I went to our bedroom, looked at the bed I shared with a woman who was probably at a hotel with her boss right now. I took a pillow and blanket and went to sleep in the guest room. Tomorrow, I'd wake up and make Tommy breakfast and pretend everything was normal. But tonight, I started accepting that normal was gone, that maybe it had been an illusion all along, and that soon everything I thought I knew about my marriage would either be confirmed or destroyed. Wednesday morning arrived with rain, the aggressive kind that made you question every life choice that led to leaving the house. I'd barely slept. The guest room bed was comfortable enough, but my mind wouldn't stop running through scenarios and possibilities. Maybe the hotel charges were legitimate. Maybe there was a reasonable explanation. But then I'd remember her smile in that photo, the way she'd looked at Steven, and I'd know I wasn't crazy. Tommy stumbled into the kitchen already running late because I'd forgotten to set my alarm. "Why didn't you sleep in your bed?" he asked while I rushed to make toast and pack his lunch. Couldn't sleep, didn't want to wake Mom when she got home. He looked at me with those knowing eyes. "Mom didn't come home," he said quietly. "What?" I got up to use the bathroom at midnight. Her car wasn't in the driveway. Of course it wasn't, because she wasn't working late at the office. She was at the Belmont or somewhere else that definitely wasn't here. "She texted me," I said, which was true. She had texted at 11:45. "So exhausted staying in the city tonight. Love you both." We drove to school in silence except for the rain and squeaky windshield wipers. At drop-off, Tommy turned to me before getting out. "Dad, are you and Mom going to get divorced?" The question hit like a physical blow. Why would you ask that? Because Marcus's parents got divorced last year, and before it happened, his dad started sleeping in different rooms, and his mom started staying out late, and they stopped being happy. Jesus, 6 years old and already fluent in the language of marital breakdown. "I don't know what's going to happen," I said, because I couldn't lie to him. "But whatever happens, Mom and I both love you very much, and that will never change, okay?" He nodded, but I could see tears forming. "I don't want you to be sad." "I'm not sad, buddy. Just figuring some things out." He hugged me tight, then ran through the rain to the school entrance. I met with Dr. Emily Wright that afternoon, a child therapist Bill had recommended. "I want to prepare before I tell my son his parents are getting divorced," I told her. "I want to know how to make it easier for him." She asked about Tommy, his temperament, his relationships, his support system. I talked about how he was sensitive and observant, already aware something was wrong even without the vocabulary for it. How he barely saw his mother anymore. "He sounds resilient," Wright said. "But resilient doesn't mean unaffected. When you tell him he's going to need consistency, stability, reassurance that this isn't his fault. You need support too," she added. "You're about to go through one of the most stressful experiences possible." "Do you have a therapist?" "Not yet. She gave me 3 names and told me to call one this week." Thursday evening, Sarah texted at 5. "Staying in the city again, absolutely swamped. See you tomorrow." I called Mike. "Need you to follow her again. Same hotel, I'm guessing. I'll be in position by 6. At 7:42, Mike sent the first photo. Sarah entering the Belmont in a red dress I'd never seen before. At 8:03, another photo. Steve and Richardson entering the same hotel with an overnight bag. At 8:07, confirmation, both subjects in room 847, lights on, curtains closing now. I sat in my living room with Tommy asleep upstairs, looking at the photos and feeling nothing. The anger had burned out, the hurt had gone numb. All that was left was cold clinical observation. This was a pattern, this was habitual, this wasn't a one-time mistake. This was a conscious, repeated choice she made every Thursday night while texting me about being swamped. Friday morning, Sarah came home at 7:15. I was making Tommy's lunch when she walked in, kissed my cheek, asked if I'd slept well, went upstairs to shower. The lies had become so effortless, she didn't even bother making them elaborate anymore. That weekend, we had dinner with Rachel's family. Sarah almost canceled, but I insisted. We drove the 2 hours north, and Rachel pulled me aside in the kitchen. "You look like hell," she said bluntly. Rachel looked at each piece of evidence with growing fury. "That absolute bitch," she finally said. "When are you filing?" "December 2nd, first Monday of the month. Papers are ready. I just need to tell her." The next 2 weeks followed the same pattern. Late nights at work, Thursday evening at the hotel. I documented everything, built my case, prepared for what was coming. The week before Thanksgiving, I met with Bill to finalize everything. "Everything's ready," he said. "Divorce petition, custody order, financial documents, everything. You can serve these whenever you're ready." December 2nd. Thanksgiving came and we spent it at Rachel's house, safer with buffers and witnesses. Sarah was on her phone constantly, barely present. At one point, Rachel caught my eye, and I could see the fury in her expression, but I shook my head slightly. "Not yet, not here, not in front of the kids." Sunday, December 1st, I woke up at 5:47, unable to sleep anymore. Tomorrow, everything would change. I got up and made coffee, stood at the kitchen window watching the sunrise. Sarah came downstairs at 7:30, already dressed for the gym. I'm meeting Steven for a run, she said. He wants to discuss the transition timeline. A run on Sunday morning, how convenient. Should be back by 10, want to do something with Tommy today, all three of us. We haven't had family time in a while. We spent the afternoon at the Science Museum, walking through exhibits while Tommy ran from display to display asking questions. Sarah took photos and posted them on Instagram with captions about family time and making memories. Performing, always performing. That evening, after Tommy was in bed, Sarah and I sat in the living room, her on her laptop, me on mine. Are we okay? She asked suddenly. Why do you ask? I don't know. You just seem distant lately, like you're somewhere else. Just stressed with work, I lied. End of year stuff. Oh, okay. She seemed relieved. Well, if you want to talk about anything, I'm here. She went back to her laptop and I went back to mine. Two people occupying the same space, living completely different lives. Monday morning, December 2nd arrived. The day. My hands were shaking as I got dressed. Sarah was already up in a sharp black suit. Big. Monday? I asked. Huge final review meeting for Q4 numbers. Steven wants everything perfect. She checked her watch. I should get going early. Have a good day. She kissed me goodbye, perfunctory and meaningless. You too, love you. You too. I watched her drive away, the last time she'd leave without knowing our marriage was over. Tommy came downstairs and I made him breakfast. Are you going to tell me the thing today? He asked. Yeah, buddy, after school. Is that okay? He nodded. Will it be really bad? It's going to be hard, but remember, you and me are going to be okay. No matter what happens, that doesn't change. Promise? Promise. At 8:47, I received a text from the process server. En route, ETA 9:05. My heart was pounding. At 9:11, papers served, subject appeared shocked, signed receipt. Job complete. It was done, Sarah knew. At 9:28, Bill called. She knows, process server confirmed delivery. I just called her cell and introduced myself as your attorney. She's not taking it well. She's claiming you're making a mistake, that she can explain everything, and I told her we'd be happy to hear her explanation in court. Expect calls, Daniel, lots of calls. Maybe turn your phone off for a bit. At 10:47, Sarah's mother texted. Daniel, what is going on? Sarah called me crying. She says you filed for divorce out of nowhere. Please call me. Out of nowhere, right? As if her daughter hadn't been having an affair for months. At 11:23, Sarah finally called. I let it ring 3 times, then answered. Daniel, her voice was wrecked. What the hell? Divorce papers served at my office in front of everyone, yes. Why would you do this without talking to me first? Because there's nothing to talk about, Sarah. I know about Steven, I know about the Belmont. I know about every Thursday night for 3 months. I know everything. Silence, long, hollow silence. Then it's not what you think. I have photos, Sarah. Time-stamped photos of him entering your hotel room, credit card records, phone logs of hundreds of texts. What part am I misunderstanding? Daniel, please, can we just talk face to face? I can explain. There's nothing to explain. You've been having an affair. You've been lying to me for months. You forgot my birthday to throw a party for your lover. You chose him over your family again and again. I made a mistake. I messed up, but we can fix this. We can go to counseling. No, Sarah, I'm done. I'm done being the supportive husband while you live a double life. I'm done sleeping alone while you're in hotel rooms with him. I'm done watching our son wonder why his mother's never home. What about Tommy? You're going to destroy our family because of one mistake. I'm not destroying our family. You already did that. I'm just making it official. Please. She was sobbing. Please, Daniel, I love you. I love our family. I'll end it with Steven. I'll quit my job. Just please don't do this. You should have thought about that before you checked into room 847 for the first time. The custody thing, you can't take my son away from me. I'm not taking him away. You'll have visitation, but he's staying with me in his home and his school. He needs stability, and you've proven you can't provide that. This is cruel. This is so incredibly cruel, Daniel. What's cruel is betraying your husband and lying to your son. Don't talk to me about cruel. I need to go. My lawyer will be in touch about the custody hearing. Until then, you can see Tommy according to the temporary order. Goodbye, Sarah. I hung up and sat in my car, feeling the weight of what I'd just done. My marriage was over, really truly over, and tonight I had to tell my son. At 2:45, I drove to Tommy's school and sat in the pickup line with all the other parents existing in their normal lives. Tommy came out talking with another kid. When he saw my car, his face lit up, then immediately fell. He knew. At home, I made him a snack and we sat at the kitchen table. "Is this when you tell me?" he asked quietly. "Yeah, buddy. This is when I tell you." "Tommy, you know how sometimes grown-ups have problems they can't fix? Problems that are too big even when they try really hard?" He nodded. "Mom and I have those kinds of problems. We've tried to work on them, but sometimes two people who love each other can't stay married anymore. It doesn't mean we don't love you. You're getting divorced." It wasn't a question. He'd known this was coming. "Yes, we're getting divorced. Because Mom's always with her boss." The statement was so matter-of-fact it took my breath away. He'd seen it the whole time. "That's part of it, yeah. Mom made some choices that hurt our family, and I can't stay married to someone who makes those choices." "Is she going to live somewhere else? Mom's going to find her own place, but you're going to stay here with me, in your house, in your room, with all your stuff. Nothing about your life has to change except Mom won't live here anymore." "Will I still see her?" "Of course. You'll see her all the time. She loves you so much, Tommy. This isn't about you at all." He was quiet for a long time processing. "Marcus's parents got divorced," he finally said. "Marcus has to pack a bag every Friday. I know, buddy, that's hard for Marcus, but you're going to stay here. This is your home." "What if I don't want to see her?" The question surprised me. "Why wouldn't you want to see her?" He shrugged. "She's never here anyway. She's always working or with Steven. She doesn't care about us anymore." That hurt worse than everything. Hearing my 6-year-old articulate the abandonment he'd felt. "She does care, buddy. She just got confused about what's important. But she loves you. That's not your fault. Are you sad?" "Yeah, buddy. I'm really sad." "'Cause you still love Mom?" "I love who your mom used to be, but people change sometimes. And the person she is now, I can't be married to that person." Does that make sense? I think so. At 6:30, the doorbell rang. "That's Mom, isn't it?" Tommy asked. "Probably." Sarah stood on our porch still in her work clothes, but disheveled now, makeup smudged, eyes swollen. "Can I come in? For a bit, Tommy's here." "Baby," she said when she saw him. "Hi, Mom." "I heard about the divorce," he said when she pulled back. "Dad told me." "Oh, sweetheart, I'm so sorry." "It's okay," Dad says. "I can stay in my house and nothing has to change except you won't live here, right? Can I talk to you?" she asked me. "Alone, Tommy, buddy. Can you go play upstairs for a bit?" We stood in the hallway, two people who'd been married for 9 years who were now strangers. "David," she started. "No, you don't get to come here and explain or ask for another chance. You made your choices. I'm making mine. I ended it. I told Steven it's over. I quit my job. Good for you. Doesn't change anything." "How can you say that? I'm choosing us now. You're choosing us now that you got caught, now that there are consequences. That's not the same as actually choosing us. Are you really going to throw away 9 years over one mistake?" "It wasn't one mistake, Sarah. It was hundreds of mistakes. Every lie you told, every Thursday you checked into that hotel, every time you looked me in the eye and lied, every birthday dinner you skipped, those weren't mistakes. Those were choices. I know, and I'm sorry, but people work through this. We can work through this. I don't want to work through this. I don't want to spend the next year trying to rebuild trust you destroyed. I don't want to wonder every time you're late if you're lying again. What about Tommy? Tommy will be fine. He's resilient, and he's already adapted to you not being present. Your absence won't be as big a change as you think." That landed hard. When's the last time you had dinner with him? When's the last time you helped with homework? You've been gone, Sarah. Physically, emotionally, completely gone. Please, David, I love you. Give me one more chance. I looked at her, really looked at her, and felt nothing. No love, no hate, just emptiness. You should go. You can see Tommy again soon. We'll work out a schedule, but right now you need to leave. She stood there for another moment, then nodded and walked to the door. This isn't over. I'm going to fight for us. There's nothing left to fight for. She left and I locked the door and went upstairs to check on Tommy. He was building with Legos, completely absorbed. You okay, buddy? Yeah, is mom gone? Yeah, okay. Can you help me with this tower? I can't get it to stay up. The custody hearing happened on December 18th. Judge Anderson reviewed the evidence and awarded me primary physical custody. Sarah got alternating weekends and one evening per week. She cried in the courtroom. Her lawyer argued about maternal bonds, but the evidence was undeniable, and Tommy's guardian report was clear. The child was thriving in his father's care. 3 months later, I stood in my kitchen on a Tuesday morning making chocolate chip pancakes. The divorce would be final in April. Tommy had adjusted better than I'd hoped. Sarah showed up for her visitation times now, was trying to rebuild what she'd broken, but Tommy always came home to me. My birthday came around again last week. Tommy made me a card and Rachel drove down with a cake. We celebrated just the three of us in my kitchen, laughing and eating too much sugar. No forgotten birthdays this year, no lies, just honest, simple love. You know what, Dad? Tommy said through a mouthful of pancake. What's that? I'm glad things changed. I mean, I'm sad about the divorce, but I'm glad you're happy now. You smile more. I reached across the table and ruffled his hair. I am happy because I have you, and I have you. That's enough, right? That's more than enough, buddy. That's everything. We finished our breakfast as morning light filled the kitchen, and I realized something profound. I'd thought ending my marriage would feel like loss. Instead, it felt like freedom. Like finally, after years of performance and pretending I could just breathe. The quiet man had found his voice, and it turned out the truth had been worth the wait.